Hi, I see you made it back. Well, okay. In this video, I was at the 2017 Tiny Living Festival at the Clark County Fairgrounds in the state of Washington, just a little north of Vancouver, Washington. If you know this guy, please send me his name so I can go ahead and put it on here on this YouTube. He had some really interesting points about how you, and some things to think about when insulating your frame for your tiny home. Well, I hope you can use some of this information because I surely did. Anyway, enough about me. Let's get into the video.
16 on center, 24 on center, so you're not custom cutting a bunch of foam. Has anybody ever cut foam before? It can be actually, the first cut is pretty enjoyable with the utility knife, and then once you keep using that utility knife, it just gets duller and duller, so you're switching out utility knives. So the best way to cut foam is with a or with a table saw. It's super messy and probably terrible stuff to breathe in, but it cuts like butter. Cuts like butter, but also if you get your foam board cockeyed a little bit, it'll throw that into you and you'll feel it. I've done that as well. But so your foam board sits inside your frames, and you can get like in a 2x4 cavity. If you do, so here's a couple different kinds of foam. And we can pass this around. This is a styrofoam cup, essentially. Don't buy this stuff. This stuff is terrible. It doesn't even give you the R value on the face of it. It doesn't even tell you how many R value it is. It's equivalent to fiberglass insulation. The benefit of this stuff is it's also a vapor barrier. So, but I don't really like vapor barriers in tiny homes. I like to allow my walls to breathe. You can't let your trailer breathe. It's just not really an option. So I always go with this typically pink foam, and it comes in different. You can pass it around. Different thicknesses, and then probably the best out there is this. It's called R-Max. This flew out of my truck this morning, which was kind of a fun thing to go grab. But this has an R value of, I think it's like 6.9 per inch. And it's quite a bit more expensive than these two options. That's the cheapest option, that's the middle of the road option, this is the most expensive. But this you can get in 4x8 sheets, and it's kind of pre-cut halfway through, so you can break it at 16 inch on center or 24 on center, so it goes in really smoothly. Yeah, there is one other thing. Does everybody know what sill sealer is? Anybody not know what sill sealer is? Everybody knows what sill sealer is?
You can't run this way, it's like the rose bar.
Sill gasket, yeah. So this sill gasket stuff is a sill sealer. It's exactly what it is, what it's called. It's sill sealer. It's not an insulation, and it's not going to create the thermal break that you need. So what a lot of people will do is they'll put this sill sealer on top of their floor frame, and then they'll attach their subfloor right on top of that. And when you attach your subfloor on top of that, typically with sheet metal screws, which is going to suck this thing down to nothing, you have no thermal break there at all. So don't use this stuff. You can use it for your walls, at the base of your walls, to kind of limit the air leakage that's happening typically at the base of your walls. It's a high air leakage area, but don't use it on the trailer. I think that's about it. I wanted to leave enough time for questions because I know that this is kind of a complicated assembly, and me just talking about it, some people need it more visual. But if you guys have any questions, ask me.
What was the name of this recommended?
This is called R-Max.
R-Max?
Yeah. That's R-Max. And you can you could build this cavity and hire a company come in to spray foam in between, and that's going to be a good assembly as well. It's typically more expensive.
Pour concrete on top of the foam.
But if you do spray foam, you definitely have to have backing to it on the insulation. So you have like some people will do a pressure treated plywood on the bottom. Some people do a metal pan. I prefer the metal pans. Just because the pressure treated still allows moisture transfer up through, the metal pan is a great connection. So, yeah.
6-inch thick.
When you're laying your 2x4, did I catch you saying lay them this way and then do a second set? So just stagger it over so that way they're not touching it, so you're getting 2x4's thickness of insulation. Okay.
So just to clarify, you kind of build your frame and then you set it on your trailer, and you want all those frame members to be perpendicular, not parallel or not beside it, not touching. If you do it perpendicular, and then the next set you stagger it.
Just off the same perpendicular.
You don't put your connection so that your heat can transfer through those two 2x4s and down into the frame. You stagger it so it has a longer distance to travel.
So to say, so basically if you put them on 16-inch center, then the second one be at the 8-inch. Okay, perfect.
The downside to that is you're losing head height. You're losing head height when you build up above your trailer. If you're building, the benefit to building below your trailer is only one, and that's head height. That's it.
So with 2x3s, so be sufficient enough if you did that? Or you do that extra half-inch or whatever?
Yeah, so she was talking about 2x3s versus 2x4s. Yeah, 2x3s either laid on the smallest or the least thickness, so 1.5 inches touching here is the best. And then you have the maximum thickness of 2 inches, 2.5 inches, and you do the next that way. With your subfloor, you want to work with a tongue and groove product, so you want those to land on the seams. But the tongue and groove you can have out in voids as well, so it's not becoming squishy. Just if you're doing seams on the long sleeves, you want that seam to land on there. Yeah.
So, if you could, I got in halfways in here, but can you explain the correct way in construction of the floor that you're proposing?
Yeah. So, just the layers. You want to talk about the layers?
Yeah. How you start beginning to finish.
Yeah. So the way I've been building them is I build my floor assembly off the trailer, and then I put it on. So I build my floor assembly. I flip it over. This takes a few guys, or we have a crane in our shop. We flip it over, lay the metal right on that, flip it back over. So we use it's a 20 gauge sheet metal. We get in long rolls, 10-foot sheets, seal all the seams.
So when you say sheet metal, is it a galvanized sheet metal or what? Or is it aluminum?
Product. We use it's painted. It's a painted steel. Same stuff that's on metal roofs.
Okay.
Same product.
I used to work at an RV manufacturer when I was younger, and they had this kind of aluminum kind of stuff they used to put on the floor.
Yeah, so that aluminum stuff you can rip it with your hand.
Well, true.
Yeah, it's pretty flimsy stuff. So when you're traveling down the road, if you plan on traveling a lot, those will get punctures pretty easily.
Okay.
So the first, flip it over. So now once you flip it over, you got your metal underneath. You got your two framing members that are crisscrossed each other. And before you put that second floor frame member on, you insulate that cavity. Attach the next one, insulate that cavity, and then you throw your subfloor on.
And you insulate it with this silver stuff here.
That's what I've done. You could, if you're in a pretty mild climate, like if you're in Southern California, insulating your trailer, like you actually want that cold air that's below your trailer actually transferring up to your house. In this climate, in northern climates, you don't want to feel that trailer. Has anyone been here in a house heated with radiant floor heat? It's so comfortable. Well, I've done tiny homes heated with radiant floor heat with the subfloors touching the framing. That radiant floor heat doesn't work. It's just cycling all the time. So that was an expensive mistake.
Have you used that?
That's what we use. Yeah, but even so, even if you're heating, it's not going to be going up. It's going to warm the surface up here, but it's constantly going to be cycling and heating up your trailer. There's no reason you want your trailer to be warm. Yeah. Yeah.
Have you played with the idea to use the seat panels for the floor?
C panels?
Yeah, the one that the people usually use for the wall, but you
Like
go,
SIPs?
Yeah,
Structurally insulated panels? Yeah, those work great. So you can do the structurally insulated panels right on top here, as it almost, oh, yes.
You can go, I just need my mic.
Sorry about that.
No, it's good. So the SIPs, they are a great option. Yeah, and I think Patrick, I can never pronounce his Artisan Tiny Homes. His home is made out of SIPs.
all the way.
The whole thing, yeah. But sometimes people just do the floor that way. Because SIPs offer some unique complications as far as wiring and plumbing. I think he's probably figured out some methods, but I've done
Well,
one.
then you can end up running into the walls.
Yeah,
like
electricians don't like it. They do not like SIPs panels.
I know.
Unless you find an electrician that's done many of them, most of them will be like, I don't want to feed wire through cavities. I want to be able to run my wire and see it and go. Yeah. So.
So if I'm gathering this right, there's an entire sheet of metal.
Yeah, there's a tire sheet of metal. It's a sandwich fitting that once you attach your walls through. Some tiny house trailers have flanges that you can bolt right through. Some have rods sticking up. The rods are kind of difficult in that you don't know where your key studs are landing, which you want to be able to tie into. So if you're framing and you're like not quite the right distance, then you're adding more lumber in there, which is increasing your overall R value of your wall. So what I prefer is a flange, and I prefer to use HTT Simpson ties that tie through all the way through my sill plate, through my floor frame assembly, and into my trailer, and I squeeze that down, and then my sheeting comes over. So my sheeting goes past my wall and over my floor frame. So your shear is not only the floor, the wall, but if you get long enough panels, you get 12-foot long sheeting, you can also attach your rope to it. So you have a pretty awesome box. Yeah.
So on that, would you be bolting the sheathing to the side?
You would be, you wouldn't be bolting, you'd be nailing, you'd be nailed off.
Into the trailer itself?
No, into in the floor assembly. Yeah. And oh yeah.
Well, let's ask, what do you do around the wheel well since you have a horizontal and a vertical plane to deal with?
Yeah, so I typically frame like miniature little walls around them and then insulate and keep that frame an inch off of the wheel well, insulate behind so I have a thermal break there, and then I insulate inside the frame and then I sheathe it.
Okay.
That sort of makes sense. So I insulate around the wheel well, put my frame up against it so I have that thermal break, and then I insulate that cavity. No, because the wheel well is your metal sheeting. That's a good question. So if you do this assembly, your walls need to be hitting wood all the way through. You can't have a piece of foam in between your wall and your trailer. Because I showed you I can push my thumb through it. What do you think a wall is going to do? It's going to move and shake and eventually fail on you. So you want wood connected all the way through, it's not a true thermal bridge, like you're not truly breaking all those things. There's no way. You have to do that. If there's any more questions, I'll be here.
What's the difference between that trailer that has a lower...
People are insulating inside that
what I
cavity.
Okay.
Yeah. Which this is the way. This is a similar construction to what we do. But when you insulate inside that cavity, I've done the calculations, and you can insulate still that cavity, and you still add up all these outside frame members that are connected, and even with the thermal break, it's still a low R value. And there's so much effort and energy that goes into insulating these trailers, and to find out at the end of it you have a poorly insulated floor system is a bummer. And most tiny homes are built this way. It's kind of like, I just realized it I mean, I realized it when I first started, but I finally did the calculation with a friend of mine that's a building scientist, because the equation just, I'm not a math person. And we found out that, sure enough, the overall R value of tiny homes insulated this way is next to nothing, 3 to 5 R value. So, yeah.
What about, I've seen a lot of times where they put a wall around the perimeter of, does that, how much, I mean, I guess depending on what you build it
So
with.
skirting?
Yeah, the skirt.
Like a skirting around one
Yeah, if you do like a heavy duty skirting or something, does that change?
It helps keep airflow underneath the trailer down, as well as moisture out of underneath the trailer. Because what a lot of people do is they park these, like in a situation like this, there's moisture evaporating. Probably not so much right now, but it will be in the next few days. Moisture's coming up through, and if you don't have a good vapor barrier on the underside of your trailer, it's coming up inside.
So what I was thinking is doing the walls around it,
Yeah.
something like this.
Yeah.
Putting a but then also venting from inside down into it, so you have air pushing out.
Oh, like a positive pressure? So you're pulling air from inside your house and pushing it into another conditioned crawl space. Is
Right.
essentially what you're talking about.
Right.
So if you do a conditioned crawl space, in like warmer climates, a conditioned crawl space, they don't insulate the floor
Correct.
or the ground underneath. In Oregon, a conditioned crawl space, you insulate the floor and the walls, and then you throw essentially a big pool liner on top of it. I don't know how often you plan on moving your tiny house, but it's a lot of work.
No, I
A
understand.
lot of people will do just hay bales, which also love to absorb moisture. But, during the summer months, keeping the space underneath your tiny home cool, there's some benefits to that. Of course, if you have a thermally broken floor assembly, you're not seeing the benefits of that. But like in California, there's huge benefits there. That's why they don't insulate their crawl spaces. They build slab on grade there. So, but yeah, a lot of people are starting to do skirting systems, keep rodents out. If you're in a field, go watch these tiny homes, and before you get in line and wait an hour to get in one, just look underneath the tiny home and see how they did it. If you can see insulation, it's probably going to have some issues. You shouldn't be seeing insulation unless it's this stuff, which the only thing that really works on that stuff is sometimes carpenter ants will make their way into it and they won't last very long. They actually last a lot longer in this stuff. Carpenter ants love this stuff.
Oh, wow.
That's good to know.
Yeah, this stuff they don't love so much. This stuff it's treated with insecticide or something. So this stuff works, but I don't recommend the styrofoam cup approach.
What about like the sheep's
Sheep's wool is great. It has a low R value, but 2 layers. Yeah, it's expensive. It's labor intensive. Insulation is all about how you install it. So if it's installed poorly, you're not going to get a good R value. Yeah.
Are you able to measure the R value after you've built your frame in here? Is that when you
Yeah, so the R value is based on what your thickness is. So I've done 2x6 floor frames with a 2x3 on top of it to reach an R30. The wheel well is your weak point, so you can't do an R30 out, you're taking the floor space that way. So R15 on your wheel wells. So the overall R value comes to about R23 with an R30 floor. But of course that changes with the square footage of your tiny homes. With tiny homes getting bigger, that number's going to get smaller. Tiny homes are just getting bigger, right? You see like 32 tiny houses.
Where are you located?
In Portland, Oregon. Yeah. We don't build anymore. I stopped building a couple years ago, and now I just do sell my designs online with Portland Alternative Dwellings. And I work with Tiny Nest over here, and they've been starting to put our designs into 3D SketchUp. And we're just selling our designs to builders and do-it-yourselfers and just supporting the network that way, because building tiny homes is exhausting.
So how would we contact or find your designs?
Portland Alternative Dwellings, yeah.
And then do you put sheeting underneath as well? Metal sheeting underneath?
I don't do it on. Yeah, some manufacturer will put sheeting underneath here, but you can order that and you don't have to do the sheeting underneath here. I prefer the positive connection instead of creating another air break,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
If there is sheeting underneath there and you do this method, I put vents in there to be able to ventilate the space. Just like a crawl space underneath the house. So you ventilate the space, you allow that. If any moisture gets in there, it's able to get out. So, and once you do insulate your floor assembly, don't let it get wet. There's a lot of people out there that typical construction, they'll insulate, throw it on their subfloor, and it has a good heavy rain. Water gets into the floor assembly. It takes a long time for that to get out. And most people realize once they start looking at their floors that they have no issues on the frame. This stuff will mold. It's not organic.
What's the lowest profile trailer then?
So this
You'd
will mold?
want to talk with the lowest profile trailer that we worked with is 23 inches off the ground. I think Tiny House Basics has
And they said it was 22.
22, so they have a drop axle. I don't know if they have a drop axle here. Yeah, there's a drop axle. So this is their probably lowest trailer here.
Okay.
So you can get drop axles pretty much through any trailer manufacturer, and they're a good option. The only thing that I would hesitate against is if you're going into a place with low clearance, you're going to be bottoming out your trailer.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. I'll be around today.
What was the name of this board again, please?
That's RMAX.
Armax.
Yeah.
Thank you. And was that the one that is molds? Which one was
No,
it?
none of these mold. The framing, the actual wood framing,
Oh.
will have, because the mold won't occur on inorganic material.
Okay.
It only happens on organic material
All right.
If you get it wet.
Right.
if you get it wet.
Okay,
And so
I thought, yeah, I was going to
sheetrock, when you see mold on sheetrock,
Right.
that mold is actual micro dust on the wall. So like there's, all walls have a built up layer of dust on it. I mean, like you can't see it,
Yeah, yeah.
but that's where the mold is growing. It's not growing typically inside the wall.
I didn't know that.
I mean
Thank
inside
you.
the sheetrock.
Okay. Now, what did you call this again? I got to write this down.
Armax.
Armax. Okay.
Armax.
Thank you.
Oh yeah.
We turned you up actually over at the relay, so
You did?
when you had the head wireless.
Oh, shoot.
But it was such a delay.
Yeah.
You know, you were like, I'm pointing down, and then you were like, okay, this is gonna be like, I'm
Oh,
pointing
nice.
down. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah.
So on PDX Alternative Buildings, you do floor plans and
We have floor plans, and we also have floor assemblies too with those floor plans.
like how to do it.
How to do it, it's typically an elevation and a cut-through view. It doesn't show you the step-by-step. But I think now that we've connected with Tiny Nest, what we've done with some of our trailers, with our tiny homes, is like you can watch it with our cider box. Now you can watch it get framed. And you see the different layers pop in. Where that's really the key, is watching how these layers go together. Because you can't do one layer before the other layer. And you know what kind of screws do you use, and you know how exactly do you frame around your wheel well.
So do you address all that, or you're working?
We show it.
Okay.
We show cross sections of the wheel wells, the trailer assembly, but if you get a different trailer, it's not going to fit. These trailers, I mean, Tiny House Basics builds an awesome trailer, and the assembly is just going to be different than what we do.
Yes.
Yeah.
They'll be positive dimensions.
10 feet wide. You can do 10 foot on our so yeah. They won't build it 10 feet, but you can frame your tiny house at 10 feet.
Is that going to be sturdy and fine?
Yeah, I mean, those park models over there are built on 2x6 floor framing, and when it's the steel I-beams that they're on, you can't leave it out 2 feet that way.
Okay.
So we've done up to 1.5 foot out beyond the frame.
On each.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not an engineer, so you want to check that,
Right.
but like most manufactured homes have been doing that for years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, sweet.
Thank you.
This tiny home thing is getting a lot of excitement, and it's interesting phenomena. A lot of people are more and more interested in this. Anyway, I hope this video answered some questions for you, or maybe taught you a few things that you didn't know. There's some things that I didn't know. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you at my next video. Until then, see you later.